We're going to be buying cards online to see if we can grade them. I've got one of our first buys back. The seller was great with these. Overall, I'm happy with the purchase regardless, but let's see if any of these will end up going to PSA. Alright, so these are the cards we're going to be going through today. We got Shaman, Rotom, Blaziken, Lycanroc, Cynthia's Garchomp, Poliwhirl, and Iono's Kilowattrel. So let's go ahead, take a dive, see if my purchase was worth it. First up, we got this Shaman. Let's take it out and take a look. Alright, let's talk about Shaman. So I've taken a look at Shaman. Overall, it looks pretty good, but there are two areas that I noticed that I think will bring this card down to a 9 if I were to send it in. It is a 50-50 shot based on how tiny the issues are, in my opinion. Maybe a 75% chance at a 9, but let's go over it. So the first issue is a little hard to tell, but you see that glare at the top above Shaman? So it looks like the edge, you can kind of see through the foil at parts. So that's the only issue on the front. It is edgeware, but again, my rule of thumb is generally if you pull it all the way back, can you see it? Is it going to make an impact? Probably not as much as you'd think. And the main reason is if you hold it a few inches away from your eye level, if you can see the problem, that's likely where you're going to get a PSA 9. If you can't see the problem, you actually might get away with a 10. Depends on the grader. If they're having a bad day, you're out of luck. Now, when we look at the back, it actually looks pretty good. The only issue on the back is, yes, the centering is off, but it's within PSA's ranges. So that's all you need. You don't need it to be perfect centering for a PSA 10. You just need to be within that 60-40 on the back, 55-45 on the front, which this card is indeed. If you don't know how to check that, check my other videos or get a grading centering tool. That is going to be your best bet. But the one issue, and again, it's hard to pick up on the camera because it is pretty minuscule, is this tiny white speck at the top of the corner. If you look closely in person, you can see it. But again, if I hold it far enough away, you can see it, but it is hard. You have to tilt the card the right way. That's the main one that I think is going to give this one a 9 if it comes back as a 9. The card, other than that, actually has no flaws. So just the two flaws. This is probably a pack fresh card. And again, those are probably just indents from either putting the card away or it being shuffled along in the factory line. Both of those are very common to see. So that one is going to limit Shaman. I'm still not sure if I'm going to send this one off. I'll have to think about it. But let's move on to card number 2 and our last one for this video. Alright, and our next card to examine for this video before we end this one, and you can catch the other cards in the next episode coming out tomorrow. But this one's Lycanroc. Let's dive in, see if it's going to PSA. Alright, I pulled Lycanroc out, and right away you should be able to tell this is not going to PSA. If you look right above the ear on Lycanroc, you can see there is a scuff. That is bad enough that alone would disqualify this card from going to PSA. On the front, there's no other issues. I mean, the centering, again, slightly off, left to right, top to bottom, but it, believe it or not, is just barely within range for being acceptable with PSA. But let's go ahead and we'll look at the back. Now, can you spot any issues on this card on the back? Before I tell you, 3, 2, 1. If you first noticed this print line, again, it looks like a scratch. It's hard to pick up on the camera sometimes, but it's right by that Pokemon. Let's see if I can get you a better angle. So this one's only visible at certain light reflection points. So you always want to do this in a dark room. So there you can see it right by the O. So that actually in person, you can tell it extends all the way up the length of the card, but it's most noticeable on the bottom O of Pokemon there, the one that's upside down. That one is a print line. On its own, that one might not be a disqualifier. However, it does look like it could also be a scratch, even though it's completely vertical. It goes from the top of the card to the bottom of the card. I know this one is actually a print line, but at PSA, could you prove it's a print line over a scratch? Probably not. Again, that alone would likely bump it down to a PSA 9 unless you were extremely lucky and the grader wasn't using their eyes. The other issue, if you spotted it earlier, is the bottom left corner. Got that little white dot on its own, probably enough to move it to a PSA 9. But with this one, again, that's not a good sign. And then if we zoom out, you can see it at the top of the O there, right by that light, the top O. Other than that, the card looks okay. It's those two are the main ones on the back, and then of course the one scuff on the front. This card is not a PSA 10 contender. Likely a high chance at a PSA 8, if not a PSA 7, just on how bad that front scuff is, combined with the white printing dot and the print line that could be a scratch. So overall, this one will not be going to PSA. Shaman maybe. We'll have to think on it and see if we want to submit that one. At the end of the series, I'll tell you which ones I'm submitting to PSA and what grades I expect them to get, but Lycanroc did not make the cut. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate the views. If you made it this far, please don't forget to like, follow. Those two help the most. Commenting on the video is always great as well. If you spotted anything I didn't, let me know. I'm always trying to improve my grading skills. It helps everybody else out that watches these videos. So thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next one. Zelthor out.